Today we are going to talk about the methods of training. We would also be talking about the different techniques used as part of these methods. Now, children, I would like to first recapitulate what is training. Training is the process of increasing the knowledge and skills of employees. It can be either on the job training as well as off the job training. So, these are the two methods which are used for training in different organizations. Now, let us talk about each one of them in detail along with the techniques used for these methods. First of all, let us talk about on the job training, which is also known as OJT. In this type of training, the trainee is placed on regular job and taught the skills required to perform the job. For example, in case of a factory, the worker working on the machine is being supervised and taught how to operate the different types of machines while he is working on the machine. So, this would be on the job training. It is basically learning by observing and handling the job. That is, the worker would observe his supervisor as to how he is operating the particular machines, and then he would also try the same machine by operating himself in the guidance of his supervisor. This type of training is also known as learning by doing. Why, children? Because it is learning the job by doing it. That is, by performing the task himself. The worker in this case was learning as to how to operate the machines. Now, there are some advantages of this type of training, that is OJT. This type of training is very convenient and inexpensive. Why it is convenient? Because of the fact the trainee and the trainer, they need not leave the workplace. They can work at the same place where in future the trainee is to perform the job. So it is very convenient. Secondly, it is very inexpensive. Why it is inexpensive, children? Because there need not be any hiring of a special kind of trainer. Only the supervisor, who is the boss of the trainee, can teach the job to the trainee by helping him out, by making him do the job by learning by doing. Like we had talked about in the case of worker. The worker observes his supervisor as to how he is operating the machines, and then he himself tries to operate the machine. So it is very inexpensive because it does not require any kind of cost in terms of hiring a trainer to train the trainees. This type of training provides a first-hand knowledge and experience under the actual working conditions. Now, there are some disadvantages also of on-the-job training. Let us talk about that. The noise of the workplace may distract the attention of the trainee. They may not be able to concentrate on the learning process. At times, there are other people who are already working on the machines, and a new trainee is to be trained to work on the machines through the method of on-the-job training. In that case, the trainee will get distracted due to the noise of other machines which are operational in the factory. Now, before we proceed further with the off-the-job training, let us first talk about the techniques of on-the-job training. The different techniques used on the job training are as follows. Number one is job instruction training, that is also known as JIT. In case of job instruction training, it is a training in the form of step by step training. That is, the trainee is given the instructions step by step as to how he is to perform a particular task or a particular job. In this case, first of all, there is a preparing the trainee by telling them about the job and overcoming the initial nervousness. That is, the trainee is first told as to what all he needs to perform while working. This helps in easing out the trainee by taking out his nervousness so that he feels comfortable in the environment. Secondly, presenting the instructions, that is giving the necessary information, interacting, illustrating and asking questions from the trainee. That is so that the trainee has complete knowledge, complete information and he is able to ask questions if any. Thirdly, it is letting the trainee try out the job to show their understanding. That is, after the instructions have been given to him or her as to what all he needs to do while operating the machines or any other job, he should be able to try out that job so that we know that he has understood his job profile or not. Fourthly, it involves observing or trying and providing necessary assistance and follow up. After the trainee has performed the job with his or her own hands, he is asked to observe and try out, and further he is told to have a follow up. That is, he is being given a feedback as to where all he was right and where all he went wrong while performing the job, so that in near future he does not repeat the same mistakes while working on the job. This is job instruction training. Now, what does job instruction training involve? Job instruction training involves, first of all, prepare. When we talk about the word prepare over here means that is preparing an instructional plan and putting the learner at ease so that there is no nervousness in the mind of the trainee. He is given an instruction plan as to what all he needs to do while on the job. Then is present, that is, we tell him, we show him, we demonstrate him and explain him the job profile. Thirdly is try out, that is, letting the learner do the job, providing him feedback and allowing the learner to practice the job on his own. Say, for example, the worker is being told how to operate the machine, and further we tell him to operate that machine with his own hands under our guidance and supervision. Next step is follow up. In this case, there is a progress check being done, and it also provides help to the trainee by telling him or her about where all he went right and where all he was wrong while performing the job. Now children, this was all about job instructional training under the head on the job training. Now let us talk about apprenticeship training. In the case of apprenticeship training, the trainee learns by working with those who are already skilled in their job. Say, for example, a welder is working under the guidance of a senior welder. So, he is learning the job with the ones who are already skilled, who are already experienced in that job profile. A plumber working under a senior plumber, an electrician working under a senior electrician. So it is basically working with those who are already skilled in their job profile. It is type of a classroom training because in this case, first of all, a training is given to the trainee and then he is being told to perform or to try out that job under the guidance of his senior or under the guidance of the master worker. Now children, why it is also called as the classroom training? This type of training, that is the apprenticeship training, is also called as the classroom training because in this case the focus is also on the theory and then only the job tryout is being given. The trainee gradually learns the skills of the job. The third type of technique which is used under the head of on-the-job training is job rotation. In this type of training, there is a movement or transfer of trainee from one job to another. But it is basically either of the similar nature job profiles or in the same department or it may be in different departments of the organization. Now, what is the benefit of on-the-job training under the head of job rotation, children? Due to the job rotation, the trainee gets the job knowledge and he gains an experience of different assignments. That is, he gains a knowledge of the different job profiles in the organization, be it any department or be it a particular department. This method of training is popularly used where there is a job of clerical level or managerial level. For example, in case of banking industry, the trainees are given knowledge, they are given the training for different job profiles, be it the clerk, be it the manager grade, so that they are being rotated in a particular branch from the cashier seat to the manager seat and so on, so that they are comfortable in working at different job profiles and they know the different assigned jobs in that particular branch, so that in near future if one of the employee or more than that are absent, say for a week or so, the job, the working of the branch does not get affected. Now children, let us talk about the other method of training, that is off the job training. When we talk about off the job training, in this type of training method, the trainee is separated from the job situation and learns the skills related to the job outside the working place. That is either at a training center or at an artificial environment which just looks like a working environment. Now, there are some advantages of this type of training as well. Under the head of off-the-job training, the advantages of off-the-job training are, in this case, the trainee gets full concentration of the learning because he is not at a workplace which may be noisier at times. So he would not get distracted. He would have his full attention towards his training. Now children, let us talk about the different techniques which are used under the head of the job training. The first kind of technique which is used for off-the-job training is the classroom training. In this case, just like in the case of a classroom, just like what a teacher delivers, in this case of training also there is lectures, case studies, audiovisual aids which are being used to train the trainees or to train the employees of the organization. They are made to sit under a classroom. So children, when we talk about the classroom training, it is basically imparting the theoretical knowledge about the job profile. This type of training is related environment free from the workplace disturbances. So it is at in a closed environment, that is a classroom, where the trainee is given the theory knowledge. No practical knowledge is being given in this type of training. That is, the classroom training is free from the practical knowledge. Now let us talk about the second technique of the job training, that is the stimulation exercise. In this type of training, the trainee is placed in an artificial environment which resembles the actual working conditions. That is, the trainer tries to create the same kind of atmosphere as there would be in the actual job profile, that is, as there would be in reality on the job. In this type of training, the trainer tries to have some stimulation or experimental exercises being performed with the trainees, such as there would be role plays, sensitivity training, business games being played between the different trainees in the training center, where the artificial environment for training is being created. So we can say that this type of training is learning by participating, because all the trainees in this type of training participate in that particular role play. For example, we want to teach the trainees about the different types of conflicts, personal conflicts, interpersonal conflicts which arise in an organization, that is between the worker and the managers. So we can have a role play kind of thing in the artificial environment which just looks like the actual environment, and someone can play the role of a worker, someone can play the role of a manager, someone can be the board of directors, so that each one of them tries to step into that role and perform. After that the exercise is completed, the facilitator or the trainer discusses with the trainees and explains the theory concepts which were related with the different types of behavior, be it the behavior of the worker, be it the behavior of the manager, be it the behavior of the board of directors for the particular situation, so that the trainee is being clear on the theory part as well as he is being given a participation to perform that role as to how he would react in a particular situation. So we can say that in this type of training, both theoretical as well as practical knowledge is being provided by making the trainees participate in the particular role play or business game or sensitivity exercises. The next type of the technique for off-the-job training is the vestibule training. In this type of training, a training center or vestibule is set up. In this type of training, the equipments, the working conditions of the actual job place are reproduced or duplicated in the vestibule. That is, in the training center, there is a duplication of the actual job profile in terms of the equipments which would be used by the workers on the actual job, and the same kind of working conditions are also being duplicated in the training center. In this type of training, expert trainers are employed to provide the training. The trainee learns the job on the equipments and the machines which he would be using in reality on the job by using the duplicate equipments which are being provided at the training center or the vestibule. For example, in case of providing training to the drivers of the train, a vestibule is created. In this type of vestibule, where the drivers of the railways have to be trained, a vestibule is created in terms of there is a small railway line being created, signals are created, engine may also be set up. The trainee will be trained by letting them use the equipments which are duplicate of the original equipments which they would be using on the job, so that they have a hands-on experience on the equipments. The advantage of this vestibule training is that the trainee can fully concentrate on the learning because he is away from the actual workplace, which may be noisier at times. But children, this type of training is very costly because of the fact there has to be a duplication of the actual job profile at the training center, which is called as the vestibule, to be created. So children, today we have talked about the different techniques which are used under the different methods of training, that is on the job training and off the job training. Both the types of methods are used hands in hands, that is both types of training methods are used simultaneously. We cannot say that only on the job training is enough or off the job training is enough for an organization. At different situations, different types of techniques and methods have to be used to train the people. Thank you. Have a good day.